Can everybody hear me? Perfect. Welcome to our session today. How is Dreamforce going? Everybody having a great time?
All right.
Enthusiastic. So I'm asking this question. I want to see how we're doing. How many people, is this your first Dreamforce? Show of hands. Good number. So I'm not going to go through all this. Has anybody been to 5 Dreamforces? Been there too. Anybody made 10 Dreamforces? That is unbelievable, the amount of people that we've had going through this. So my name is Tag Wagner. I'm a success manager here at Salesforce, and I have the privilege of introducing a great session today. It is called Audience Targeting and Lightning Communities, Personalize Everything. And we have with us today Phil Weinmeister, who is going to be doing the session. After we're done, I'm going to be walking around with the microphone for any Q&A so we could turn this interactive. So I'm going to turn this over to Phil to take it from here and to walk us through it.
All right. Well, I know it's 4 o'clock, so I'm going to try to make this as engaging as possible. I'm going to be doing a lot of demoing, so I'll try to keep you guys awake. And my other goal is to make sure you guys learn something as well. So I'm Phil Weinmeister. I work for 7 Summits. I'm our VP of Product Management. Really excited to be here today sharing with you guys. Honored to be a Salesforce MVP. I have a few certifications that I've worked hard to get, and I've written a couple books. One was on development without code on the Salesforce platform. Actually working on a second edition of that one. Got to add in Process Builder. That's kind of important. Came out right after I wrote the book. Then the second one, Practical Guide to Salesforce Communities. That just came out, and I have a little news for you guys at the end. So if you're doing anything with communities, you're going to want to stick around to hear the big news that is about you guys and that book at the end. Let me ask you guys, who here today is working with communities in some way at all? Awesome. Who is not but wants to be working with communities in some way? Okay, that's almost everyone in here. That is good stuff. So forward-looking statement. I will be sharing some roadmap information that was so graciously provided to me by one of the product managers. So just make your buying decisions based on what's in the product today, as you guys know. So let's dive in. So let's talk about communities first. Sounds like most of you guys know about communities, but not everybody. Some of you are probably here because you want to learn a little bit. So I want to make sure we set the stage. Just take a couple minutes to do that. So I'm going to talk about these 3 areas of communities. If you've seen any of my presentations, you've probably seen a similar slide before, but we're going to focus on one of these areas. So the 3 areas that really make up a Salesforce community involve the website/user experience. It's the look and feel, the traditional web piece that you know and love. Business data and processes, so this is huge. This really differentiates a Salesforce community from just a website. You have all that Salesforce data, you have all these tools to work with that you can touch your community with. Then you have the social and collaborative aspects like Chatter. We're not going to be focused on the latter 2. We're really focused on that website and user experience. Now, it does touch the business data to a degree, because when we talk about audience targeting, we're going to get into the data. That's what we're going to be looking at today. So what are some of the challenges with existing portals and online communities? This is what we're really solving today. We're looking at a scenario where you want to create a personalized experience, but you don't necessarily have endless resources, which I think most of you would say, okay, that's our situation. You don't have just a team of technical resources just sitting there saying, hey, we just want to work on stuff for you for the next few months. Or you have a big bucket of money. Here are some of the challenges. So you may have a website that's simple to develop or maintain, but it's going to be probably disconnected and static, not too exciting. You may have a portal that's integrated with business data, but a lot of portals, traditional portals, they're not very attractive. They're not very engaging, not very compelling. Number 3 is a scenario where you may have this really amazing, beautiful website, but it's going to be very costly to maintain, and sometimes those aren't connected to the business data either. So what we're trying to do is come up with a scenario where it is simple to develop and maintain, integrated with business data, and it looks good. All right? So pretty lofty goals, but we're going to do that today. So first, let's talk about audiences. What are audiences? Let's dive right in. Okay, at the simplest level, any community is going to have audiences. Here, just These represent 3 different member groups. Who are they? We'll dive into that. But every community is going to have different audiences. And sometimes you might think of audiences as just, there's a partner community, there's an employee community, customer community. Well, first of all, a community can involve all of those groups. So you can have a community that has partners, customers, and employees. And then beyond that, we want to go a little bit deeper and not just say, well, these are just partners, these are just employees. Who are they really? Let's look at that data and create audiences from that. So let's look at a couple examples. Partner communities, these are simple examples, but just trying to make this point. So let's look at 3 partners. We could segment by a couple different things. We could look at simply their account name. Additionally, we could look at their country and say, okay, we're going to segment possibly by both of those or by one of those. Obviously, there's a lot of other data you can look at, but that's just an example how you might be able to segment partners. Employees, similarly, we might look at 3 different employees and say, okay, how can we, based on the data, actually segment them? Department, title, obviously, again, much other data that we can look at. But those are basic examples. The idea here is just setting that stage for what is an audience. And we're going to get into detail. We're going to build out an audience in a minute. If we're talking about audience attributes, what's the actual data? What can you actually use to create an audience in a community? Here you go. Profile, so like standard user, system administrator, or a custom profile. Location, that will be your current actual location based on the IP address from which you're accessing the website. Domain, now it gets a little trickier, but if you have created domains for customers, let's say, and they're accessing the community from those domains, you can use that as well. That's probably going to be today the least used one, but it still is there. User object is going to be the most heavily used. So we're going to touch on that today along with profile. Also, record type. Salesforce calls that one advanced because if you think about it, the first 4 have to do with the actual accessing user. Record type has to do with the data itself. It has to do with that record. So it's a little bit different. So it is a little more advanced there, but that's very powerful. We're not going to do that today in the demo, but keep that in mind. You can use record type. Okay, so we've set the stage for audiences, kind of gone over that high level. Now let's talk about targeting. So what is targeting? Why are we focused on that today? Well, let's think about a common web experience. You have, let's say, a web page, one size fits all, just the data is being pushed, and there's really no recognition of the individual. So these 3 people, these 3 member groups are accessing the page. It looks the same. Sure, maybe they have their own data, my orders, my account, but the page itself is going to look the same. The content there overall is going to be the same. They don't feel like whoever owns this website really knows them very well. Here's what we're trying to achieve, something where it's tailored. The members have an identity, we acknowledge it, and we show them different content. So in this case, each of these 3 individuals are accessing the website and they're seeing something different. So that's our goal today. Audiences within Lightning communities. So let's take a look here. Let's say we have a community. There are a couple audiences. We can look at all these, also domain, as well as I showed you before. And what we're trying to do is take that data and then say, you know what, we're going to present something different to you. And it's going to be a seamless experience. It also will not require any code whatsoever. So that's pretty huge. There are some scenarios where you won't necessarily want to use it, and I think it's good to be transparent with you guys to say this isn't the end-all be-all. If you have a community with 500 audiences, this is probably not going to be your solution. Now, this may change over time along with the roadmap to make it easier to maintain, but the way the interface is set up, it would be difficult to do that. But if you have a smaller number of audiences, this will be a good solution for you. All right, now let's go into targeting methods. So we've talked about audiences, we've talked about what audience targeting is. Now, what are the actual methods available to you in communities? There are 3 today: page variations, components, and branding sets. Let's walk through each one of these. So let's start with page variations. With page variations, so we have these 3 user groups, all right? they're accessing this home page, community.myco.com/home. The first two user groups are directed to what we'll call the primary page, and the third is directed to a page variation. The point here is they're accessing the same page, the URL will look the same, there's no redirection or anything like that. It is completely seamless to them. So we'll give them a different experience based on who they are. Now, let's talk about components. So components, obviously, are focused just at the component level. So we just talked about the page level. Now we're taking it down to the component level, and we're looking at one component. For those of you who know Lightning App Builder, and probably most of you guys do, there's something similar in Lightning App Builder, but not quite the same. There's the visibility you can control. This is different. So you can do a few different things with this. You could take a component and say, well, I want to show it to a particular group, but what's nice is you can drop that component multiple times if you want, and actually say, well, I want to, everyone should see this component, but you should see it differently, configured differently than you would. So I can say, who are you, and what do I want to show through that component to you, and again, no code. So that's pretty powerful. The third method here, branding sets, and that goes overall. So we went from page, and I probably could have done it in a different order, but page, down to the component, now we're backing up and looking at community-wide. So when you log in, how do we give you an experience where you feel like we know who you are? And you guys have, I'm sure, seen this before, where you log into some site where you have an account and it looks different for you. And you know there's something about your data, you might not be thinking about your data, but you think, well, they know who I am, and it looks a little bit different. So there we're talking about things like some of the colors, the header image, the logo, things like that. And that's it for slides. So there's a couple at the end. But let's go ahead and jump over to a live demo. This is my favorite part, as long as Wi-Fi doesn't act up. All right, so here we are on the community's homepage. There are some things that I've done in advance, but we're going to build the audiences, we're going to do the targeting, we're going to bring it all to life live right now, and then make sure it works. So if I mess anything up, you'll see it. I'll just put it all out there for you guys. All right, so we have this community, Audience Targeting Central. So I just created this community. Let's just say this is for you guys, a community for you guys. It's a community to get information on audience targeting at Dreamforce. So we won't get too hung up on the use case there. All right, so here we are. We have a homepage already built. So you can take a look at this and see, well, all right, we've changed it from the standard look and feel a little bit. We updated the headline component right here. Welcome to Audience Targeting Central. I created a few topics and made them featured topics, added images there. So kind of we did the admin dev thing here, beginner, intermediate, advanced for admin, and then the same thing for dev. At the bottom, just a rich text component, a rich content editor, and tip of the day, how to set up branding sets. Over on the right, chatter feed. Okay? So pretty straightforward here. And this is what we're going to call kind of our original homepage. So this is what we've had for a while. It works for some users. Others maybe don't love it so much. So what we decided to do was come up with a brand new homepage. What I did was I created this page in advance, and I'll go ahead and show you guys so you can see this if you haven't used this before. I used export a page, and basically this is how you can create your page as a template. So I created this homepage in advance, and here I selected the page, clicked export, and now I have that page. So you'll see that's what you're about to see. So I wanted to show you, in case you were wondering, well, where is this page coming from? So let's go ahead and create a page variation. To do that, we're going up here to this page selector area, and we'll click on the settings cog here, or wheel, page properties. So this opens up, we have the properties for this page. Here's a second tab, page variations. Let's click on it. As you can see, we have one. That is the original page. I named it original. Typically you would just say home, and there you go. That's all we have right now. Well, we want to create a new page variation. Let's do that. At the top right, you'll see new page variation. Let's click on that. Now I'm presented with some options here. Like I said, I created the page in advance to save some time, and now it's available to me. I'm going to select that. Of course, I could say new blank page if I wanted to, and then select the content layout, but that's already done. So let's click on home_new, and I will click next. And let's call this new. This is our new page, our new home page. All right, I'm creating this, and it'll take me right to it. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's see what we have. So this page is actually 100% constructed from custom components. So I have the luxury of using some components from my company. We build a lot of custom components, so it makes for fun demos because I can use those. So we have at the top a banner component. So DF18, Audience Targeting Central, just looks nice up there, and I have the headline, mobile friendly. As I scroll down, then what we did was we added a Twitter feed on the left, and then some videos on the right. So here's what we have for content. We have last year's Dreamforce keynote, and at the bottom, we have featured DF18 videos. So a couple other videos that just came out the other day. Okay, great. So that's our page variation. What we want to do now is, so we have the page variation. What do we do next? Well, we have to actually have an audience to assign it to. Otherwise, it's just sitting out there doing nothing. Okay, let's go back and let's go to settings here. Let's go to that page variation. So to create our first audience today, we have to find this button. Now, it is a little bit hard to find. I would say it's not super intuitive, so you have to kind of know where you're going. It's this button right here, Manage Audiences. So again, that's on the page variations page, and we're going to click on Manage Audiences. No audiences yet. Let's go ahead and create one. Okay, so this, again, what we have is a page variation of our home page. There's the original, and then we have new. So let's go ahead and we'll call it, this audience will say new home page preference. A little bit long for an audience name, but what we're trying to do here is we actually are going, you'll see this in a minute, we're actually going to give the users the choice of what they want to see. So this is where it gets really powerful. Since now we can use the user object, as long as you give the users access to that field, they can actually control what they're seeing because all they have to do is change that field, right? So that's what we're going to do today. So new homepage preference, okay. And we will go down, we're going to skip profile, skip location, skip domain, and we're going to go to the user object here. Okay, and I've created a custom field in advance called home page preference. Let's select that. Now we have to identify the criteria. Right now it is very straightforward in terms of what you can do, so there's not like a formula builder, criteria builder type tool here. So we have to be very literal with this. So new, homepage preference equals new. This is a pick list, so that's why I saw those values in advance. But if it's a text field, you have to know what exactly you want there. Okay, so we're saying homepage preference equals new. That is the audience. And let's click save. All right, so we've done that. And now we have the original and the new page variation. Now, we still have a little bit of an issue because the new page variation is just sitting out there. It is not tied to anything. We have to actually assign the audience to it, like I said before. Let's do that. To the right, we see these drop-down arrows for additional actions. When you click on that, you will see this menu pop up, and what we want to do is say, let's assign an audience. So we have the audience that we just created. Let's go ahead and assign it. And there it is, new homepage preference. Great. So let's go ahead and say assign. We'll click this button here. And it's very clear now. Assigned, we see that bolded right next to new homepage preference, and we click done. So what we're doing is I could create the same thing for original, but you know what? I'll just leave that and call that default. So everyone is going to see original unless they have a preference for this new homepage, if that makes sense. All right. So we have finished this first part. Now I'm going to wait until the end to show you everything because we're going to do that together, all together, and I'll log in as each of the users that I've created in advance. The second piece is around components, okay? So let's do something different with components. So we're here in Builder, and we see this video here. Again, this is last year's main keynote. What I want to do is say, well, you know what? If you are an admin, if you identify as an admin, if that's your title based on your user data, I want to actually show you last year's admin keynote. And if you're a developer, I want to show you last year's developer keynote. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. Now, something you'll notice here that you just have to get used to, and this may change over time, we'll see, but right now, as the admin within Builder, you will see the component multiple times. So if I have 5 audiences and I want to show the component 5 different ways to those audiences, you're going to see the component 5 times within Builder. Again, it's just one of those things you have to get used to. It may change in the future, but as of right now, that's how it works. So we have this main one right here, and what we're going to do is we are going to take this component. We'll go ahead and use quick find here, and we'll drag this over, and we'll drop it here. Okay, so this is our second one. Now, and you'll see this come to life. This is pretty neat. Let me go to preview. I have a little hidden text here at the bottom. All right, so here is our admin. This is the YouTube ID. So let's grab this, if I can get that. All right, make sure I have all of it. 1 second here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to copy that, and let's go into this component, go back to Builder, and let's paste that in. And I click on the next tab. Awesome. Okay, so this was the admin. We'll say, you know, watch last year's admin keynote. All right, good stuff. I'll just get rid of the description. Now I notice up here I wrote Salesforce for admin's keynote, which is not correct. So let's change that. Main keynote, awesome. So let me close that as well. So now, where did I put that? Okay, yeah, actually I meant to put that up top. So let's do that up here. And I'll just do hashtag DF17. Okay, so now take a look. Watch last year's admin keynote, watch last year's keynote, but we're not done. We want to add a third, so let's go back in here and let's do the same thing. 7S Video Gallery, let's drop it in. Over to the right, where we're going to say, watch last year's dev keynote. Awesome. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just do hashtag DF17, get rid of that. And now I need that ID from the second one, which I have down here at the bottom as well. So let's grab that. Back to Builder. Here we go. Watch last year's dev keynote. Let's paste that in. And as we all love, when we click off, there it is. Okay. So we have 3 of these components. Watch last year's keynote, watch last year's admin keynote, and watch last year's dev keynote. All right. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and now create audiences for these. Okay. So watch last year's admin keynote. It's not super intuitive. You have to kind of know what you're doing here. At the top right of the component, you'll see a sign, okay? So let's go up here, and we have to create a new audience. So let's go ahead and create a new audience. This is the admin video. We want to show it to admins. So let's just say admins, okay? We're going to go down, and we'll say, let's use the user title field. We could also use the title on contact if we want it, but we're going to use user. User title, and we'll say admin, and I pressed comma, and it automatically set that, and I can also put in administrator. So this is what I was saying before. You have to put in all the values that you want today. okay? There's no includes or anything like that. So we're creating this audience of admins based on their title on their user profile, okay? Save and assign. Okay, we have assigned that, great. Let's go down to watch last year's dev keynote, and we will do the same thing. We'll go to assign, new audience, devs, scroll down to the bottom, user, title, and we'll put in dev and developer. All right. And let's save and assign. All right, to recap what we just did, we created an admin, we dropped a custom video component and it put in admin content, and then we're showing it just to admins. Did the same thing with devs and showed it just to devs. Now this is a little different than page variations where there's a default, because that wouldn't make sense here. We're just dealing with these individual components. So this one right now would be showing to everyone because it's not limited to a particular audience. I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. The users that we're dealing with they all fall into one of those two groups. If we wanted to, though, we could have it apply to everyone else. We're not going to do that. So watch last year's admin keynote, watch last year's dev keynote. Great. So we're now at the point where we created a page variation, an audience for that page variation, made the assignment. Then we added a few components and took those components and said we created audiences for those and assigned those as well. So we're moving along here, and we are to the third piece for the targeting methods, which is branding sets. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go here to theme, and when you click on theme, you'll see this little drop down. And in there, we have manage branding sets. So that's what we want to go to right now. So I'm going to click on manage branding sets. Okay, right now we have kind of the standard, which is not too exciting. Okay, there's not much going on here. It's kind of that default gray. We don't even have a logo in there or anything like that. Let's change that up. So at the top right, you'll see new branding set. So you click there. Name your branding set. So I created two companies, or actually two profiles for these companies, and I wanted to make it very obvious to you guys as we're showing the end result. So we have Dayco and Nightco. Those just represent companies, but the theming is going to match the name of that company, which you'll see in a second. So we have Dayco. Now, one thing that threw me off when I was initially doing this is, you're in here, you're creating a new branding set, and it may seem like you would edit some of this here. That's not the case. Right now, what this is telling you is Dayco is selected, so you go back over to the theme panel and you manage everything there. So again, that just threw me off the first time I was setting this up. So you're going to go here, you're not going to modify these here, you'll come back over to the left. So we're going to make two changes. So Dayco, let's do this. Let's go to images. All right, we're going to change the company logo and the header image because those are very visible. Company logo, let's do that. So again, Dayco. Now what's nice is, so you can upload an image from your computer, or you can grab a file from the asset library. And I already have this in here. So Dayco new is the image that I had. So I'm going to just go ahead and add that. All right, simple so far. There's the company logo. And then header image, let's add that as well. And we want, let's go with city day. I believe this is what we want. And take a look at the header. Okay, nice. So we have that populated, that looks good, and that's what we want. Okay, we have the city in the daytime. You can guess what Nightco will be, which we're going to set up in a second here. So let's go back to theme. We're still on this Dayco branding set. Let's go to manage branding sets, and let's add our third branding set, or add our second for a total of 3. New branding set, Nightco, save. And let's repeat. Header image, we're going to go with city night. And, okay, we see that back there. That's looking good. Company logo. Let's go with the Nightco logo. And we'll add that. Both of those were in the asset library, which is nice. Okay, so take a look here. So we have Nightco, we have Dayco. We are ready to go. Now we still need to actually assign those. Again, it's one thing to create it, but you have to pair it with something where it just sits there and is not used. So here we go. Let's go to, let's create the audience. So I'm going to click on Manage Audiences. Let's create a new audience here. And this one will be actually based on profiles. So we could do this a number of different ways. We could, in this case, it's the account name. We could go to the user record and look up to account and look at name. We're looking at profile. That's just how I'm doing it. I wanted to use something other than the user data. So let's go in here and let us find, well, let's see. And I may, give me one second, let me think here. What? Yes. Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a co-presenter to help me out next time. All right, so, oh, is that you, Marcy? Awesome. Okay, so we have Dayco. She works with me. Dayco user. So I created Dayco user, and this is what happens when you make changes at the last minute to your presentation right before, too. So always fun. I got to keep it exciting. So Dayco user and Nightco user are my two profiles. So let's go ahead and select Dayco user, and that's all I'm doing, right? Dayco user and save. Again, I created the audience, but I haven't assigned anything yet. While we're in here, let's go ahead and do the Nightco user. Save. Sorry, I need to name it. So Nightco. Okay, now let's say done, and let's assign. So let's go to Dayco, go to this drop-down arrow, and let's assign. And you can guess, we want to assign the Dayco branding set to the Dayco audience. Obviously, naming is important. So, as you're going through this, think carefully about how you name these. If you don't think through that, you're going to confuse yourself. Assign. Okay, we are done with that one now. And you can see also what's nice is you can see that the icon of the three people is darkened, so you know that there's an audience assigned to it. So at a glance, you can tell if you've finished setting that up. So Nightco, let's say assign. Click on Nightco and assign. Okay, that's done. Okay, now here's where we're at. We have, let's go ahead and publish everything. We created a page variation. We created an audience for that. We assigned that new page variation to an audience. We created added a couple components to a specific page. Now, note those were on the one of the page variations, okay? So they won't come into play if somebody's seeing the original page. And then we said, well, we want to show the admin video to the admins and the dev video to the developers. And then lastly, we created branding sets based on profile. So for those with the Dayco profile, we'll show them the Dayco branding set. For Nightco, we'll show them the Nightco branding set. So now we're going to bring it home here. So let's go back into Salesforce Setup. And we have these contacts that we're going to use. So let's go to Contacts. Okay, so these are silly names, but I named them so there was no chance that I messed this up. So we're going to start here with Maria Dev Dayco. All right, Maria Dev Dayco. And let's also take a quick look at what she has set for her homepage preference. If you remember, we're using that. So she has homepage preference original, so she will see the original page. All right, so let's go back to Contact, and let's log in as Maria. So Dev and Dayco, right? So she'll see Dayco branding set, and if she sees the new page variation, she'll see the developer video, which she shouldn't see because she's going to see the original homepage. Let's go ahead and log in. Deco, that's good. Original homepage. So far, we're cooking. That's good stuff. Now, what I mentioned before is if I go to my profile, if I expose homepage preference, which I've done, she can set it to new. So take a look at this. Let's go home. Now I will have to refresh, but if this works properly, on the left, the feed didn't load, but everything else worked, and that is awesome. So we are seeing the dev video, which we should see. We are seeing the Twitter feed, it just didn't load, but this is the new homepage preference. So that was exactly what we wanted. Okay, now let's go back and let's do this as the other two contacts and make sure that this is all working properly. So here we go, Howard Admin Acme. Now, he will not see any of the branding that we added. He'll just see the boring branding set at the top because we didn't set anything for that. So let's log into community, and he's an admin, so what he will see is the admin video. And on the left, and now the Twitter feed loaded this time, so I can blame Twitter. All right, so he sees the new page, which I'll confirm in a second. That's what he's supposed to see. He's an admin, so he sees the admin keynote, and then take a look at the top. He doesn't see anything very exciting. That's on purpose, so that's good. If we go to his profile, we see homepage preference new, which is great. And again, I can change it back to original if I want. So we're 2 for 2. This is good stuff. And let's go back and let's go to the last contact. So we did Howard. We have Johnny Admin Nightco. All right, let's go to Johnny Admin Nightco. And let's log in. Nightco, he sees original. At this point, I'm going to assume that's correct, but we'll check it out and change it. Let's go to my profile. So Nightco, that's good. That was the branding set. Homepage preference original, that's also good. Let's change that to new. Let's go save, and let's go home, and let's refresh. And there we go. Awesome. Okay, so that's the admin video. We're seeing the correct new preference, and we're seeing Nightco. That is exactly what we wanted. So that was good. So all that was done in 15 to 20 minutes, which is pretty powerful stuff. Here's a quick roadmap. Take a screenshot. I don't have time to talk through all of this, but there's some good stuff coming out. I believe I saw the product manager of audience targeting walk into the room earlier, so if he's still here and you have questions, he might be able to help you at the end. There he is. I didn't know if he wanted to be known, but there he is. David Goldbrenner. If you want to go deeper, obviously he's here, but also I have a 2-hour play-by-play on Pluralsight, so you can get a trial version. Go check that out, and I go way deeper and explain everything in a lot of detail. Okay, here's the news I was talking about before. If you stop by my company's booth 1400, we have some copies of Practical Guide to Salesforce Communities for free. Go get it. There's a whole chapter on audience targeting, plus there's a chapter on Community Builder. There's about 15 chapters, so go get a copy, and then if you want, you can bring it tomorrow, and I'll be in the Dream Store, and there's a book signing there. So if you want to get it signed, you can bring it. If they run out at the booth, they'll have it at a discount in the Dream Store. And guys, that is it. And we may have a couple minutes for questions. I kind of pushed it to the brink here, but I wanted to finish that audience targeting demo. Yeah. Here, we're going to pass you the mic real quick.
Thanks, this is great. So in looking at that list of audiences, I can imagine how that would very quickly get really long. So my 2 questions are, one, can that be managed in terms of deleting audiences you don't need anymore? And how do you manage testing? Like, can I do some of this in a sandbox? I've had trouble doing testing in communities in the past because I don't know how to deploy. Maybe it's just me. I don't know how to deploy some things. So
yeah. So the first one is yes, you can delete audiences. I would also say this is where naming comes into play. So you want to be very organized about how you name them. And then yes, you can test these out in a sandbox, but do kind of like what I said. When you're in Builder, you're in as the admin. So that's not really testing. So you do have to do kind of what I did and create these personas for each one. Now, if you have automated testing, that's a different case. So that's something to keep in mind. And then you asked one about deployment. Yeah, that's a whole different story, deployment. Marcy could tell you stories as well, but
you actually still as
you
with your 19, you can deploy the audiences from Sandbox to production.
yeah, sorry, I was saying you can build them in Sandbox, but not necessarily saying deploy, but it sounds like that is coming out. You would have to rebuild, correct.
So we are at time, and they're calling us. So, Phil, are you available for a couple
Yeah,
of minutes?
I'll stick around. David's
I
here
think
as
what
well.
we're going to have to do is exit the room. Phil will be right outside.
Cool.
Thank you so
Sounds
much
good.
for this great session.
Thanks,
and again,
everyone.
everybody, please remember to do the survey. This is one of the sessions we definitely want to rate very, very highly. There's so much content in here. He teaches us something on every one of these. So we'll see you out front. Thanks again.